I'm Keri Serota. I'm a Move United board member representing small chapters, and I am the executive director of Dare2Try. And I'm here today with Glenn Mary, executive director of Move United.
Couldn't tell with all the signage that we have going on.
How are you doing, Glenn?
Doing great. Doing great. Good to see you remotely, but good to see you.
Absolutely. It's been quite a year, 2020 has, especially obviously with the COVID kind of underlying everything we've done. It's brought about some pretty dramatic changes. How has Move United adapted to meet the needs of the athletes and the programs in this current time?
Yeah, 2020 has been really an incredible lesson in adaptation for all of us, right? And, it was front of mind as soon as we needed to shut down the office back in mid-March. First thing that the team said on that Monday meeting when we were closing up was, number one, what's my password so I can get in? Number two was, what are we going to do with the chapters? How are we going to help make sure that the member network stays alive and thrives? And we recognized that was going to be a difficulty. So by April 1st, so about 10 days later, we had launched the Adapt at Home platform at the Move United, what was then Disabled Sport USA, on the website. And it really started off as a way to amplify the great work that so many of our chapters and member organizations were doing to reach people, to bring people out of isolation. Quickly we recognized that there is also the risk that some of our member organizations might not make it through the financial hardships. So by the end of April, we had reached out and surveyed all of the member organizations of what was then Disabled Sport USA to kind of find out where they were financially and how COVID was going to impact them. This is pretty early in the pandemic, so not everyone had a clear idea, but we were able to create a member relief grant and launch that, awarding close to $250,000 in urgent need grants out to the membership. As time went on and we recognized, hey, this isn't going to go away, that Adapt at Home took on a second phase where we started doing some of our own programming. Our leadership conference went virtual for the first time. And that was a great lesson in how much interest there was in this space. We had close to 2,000 people come to the leadership conference remotely. And it wasn't just like, I'm going to sign up for one session and that was it. People were staying for multiple sessions through multiple days. So we continued to work, and now since April 1st, we've had more than 1,100 sessions between our partners and us, reaching an audience of 250,000. And along the way, what we heard from some of the individuals in our community was, hey, these are great, but I don't have the equipment at home to do this. I really rely heavily on my chapter or my member organization to be able to provide that specialized equipment. So the next phase of Adapt at Home was the Athlete Fit Kit. And our partners at the Hartford, among others, came forward and helped us launch 1,300 home kits being sent out with basic exercise and fitness equipment. We're really trying to keep people healthy and kind of some normal activity during this time. So yeah, it was a big pivot in April, but the community came through, adapted as they always do, and we're really happy to been able to lead the way with that. And hopefully as we return to play, we've put a lot of resources around that as well.
Awesome. I mean, speaking from a chapter representative, we followed the lead. We adapted at home. We got the kits and we're able to keep going. And I attended the virtual conference, and so I think you guys didn't miss a beat and were able to adapt. It's what we were born to do, and you guys certainly have leaders in that. You mentioned formerly Disabled Sports USA. In the midst of all this, there was a merger and a rebranding and sort of a unifying of two of the major players in the adaptive sports industry coming together under one roof and sort of now, evolving as this movement of Move United. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how that's evolved and why this was so important for the future of the organization?
Yeah, the coming together in the merger of Adaptive Sports USA and Disabled Sports USA, I think represents a really critical opportunity within the adaptive sports movement to bring together the expertise of competition, the expertise of recreation, the expertise of fitness and health, all under one umbrella. And simultaneous to that process going on, those ongoing discussions with our partners at Adaptive Sport USA, we had already begun consideration of our brand and who we were and the name that we had been operating under. So beginning back late fall, almost this time last year, we began the process of going out and researching what people thought about Disabled Sport USA. And while it's very descriptive, there were a number of people within our community who had really strong feelings on both sides of whether it's an appropriate term to be using to describe what we do. And as the merger came together, what became really evident is we're really creating the foundation for a movement. And the name Move United began to take on kind of a multifaceted meaning, in that we have this movement of people with disabilities. We have a movement afoot within the American community to effectuate a change in culture and how people see people with disabilities, and that we're uniting our community under one roof so that they have a clear understanding of where to go for services, where to go to learn the tools to become adapted to life in sport. So it was almost like we were evil geniuses a year ago when we began these processes and discussions, that it all came to fruition at roughly the same time. And unfortunately, COVID was attempted to be a disruptor about a month before that, but the plans were well put together, and the partnership in those conversations with our colleagues over at Adaptive Sport USA really allowed us to weather any type of intrusion or disruption that COVID could make. So it all came together early summer, and we're really excited about where this could lead in 2021. An athlete entering the system, never having done sport, is going to be able to learn a sport. They're going to be able to do a sport recreationally, gain the skills, and then have an opportunity to go out and compete if they want to, all the way up to kind of a pre-Paralympic arena, and give them a very robust feeling of being part of this movement that sport can impact your life.
It's awesome. I'm so excited about it, and I feel the community aspect, and certainly the continuum from, like you said, introduction all the way through whatever level somebody wants to the top level. Obviously, 2020 has been pretty busy for you guys. Hard to imagine that you could fit some other things in, but I know there are some other accomplishments that Move United has racked up this year. Do you want to talk to me about some of those?
Well, you know, the nice thing about looking back on accomplishments is that they're done already, and you don't have to think about all the work that you have to do to get to there. But these are the result of a really focused team, many of whom came over from Disabled Sport USA. And we've added some team members over the last 2 years that have been on board. But 18 months ago, we set out a vision for where we want to end up by 2028, when the Paralympics return to the United States in Los Angeles. And we think that's a catchment, a time and space that the American public will be looking at Paralympic athletes, thinking about adaptive sport, thinking about members of their community, family members, and themselves in a new arena of being able to participate. So a lot of the goals that we set out for 2020 represented kind of that growth. And that's an underlying part of our vision, is that we'd like to be available and accessible to 90% of the American people. And that means we need to grow the number of member orgs that we have. We retooled our membership this year. So we have multiple layers instead of just chapters. Chapters remain at the platinum level, but we have events, we have affiliates, we have partnerships with parks and rec departments. So what we're really doing is stitching together a complete community of access points to sport and adaptive sport. The other thing that took place through that growth was, you know, the merger brought together two organizations, but it didn't really increase the breadth of what we were doing. We've been very purposeful in recruiting, going out and finding new partners to expand into markets where there wasn't an ASUSA or a DSUSA chapter before. And so we picked up about 24 organizations over the last 12 months in that. So by the end of this year, we should have grown from about 128 to close to 200 organizations this year. And that's all fine and good. But the important thing is that we remain robust and strong and a huge support mechanism for those chapter activities, for those member activities, for those competitions and events. And so revenue growth has been central to our goals in this Vision 2028, with our eye on bringing in new revenue, new partners, and we were able to accomplish both last year. We had a fantastic year in 2020. We were close to 40% increase in revenue over the previous year, and that year was about 25% above the year before. This growth allows us to double the grants that we're putting out into the community. It allows there to be more programming. It allows our member organizations to be able to be reliant on our stability and to be able to trust when we say we'll be here tomorrow, that we will be. And the other huge thing that I think is unique in many ways is the launch of Wheelchair Folk. And there's several aspects of that that are really critical. I think it raises the awareness of adaptive sport with a new sport offering. And it's unique because the partnership with the NFL that allowed this to move forward our four pilot programs are in four of the largest markets, including Kansas City. And it's an opportunity for the NFL and Move United to benefit from supporting each other. We're providing a new sense of inclusion, diversity, and equity in sport, and they're providing a very large footprint around marketing and showcasing a new sport. It provides a vision for the American community that people can do sport, everyone can do sport, and that it should be open to everyone. And then it triggers further changes towards, hey, you know what? People can do this, they can do anything. And that's our old motto, and it still rings true today as it did 40 years ago. But we've had a great year in 2020. We've added some new board members. We've been very thoughtful about where we want to be by 2028. The bringing over the competition series, I think 2021, you're going to see a continued growth as we push forward towards our what will be now 7-year plan.
I mean, I know that there are some big lofty goals in that strategy and vision for 2028. But what's coming up? What can we expect to see out of Move United in 2021?
Yeah, that's a great, the visions are kind of predicting some of this. The competition series from this merger, we want to put some more attention to that and develop our partnerships and our colleagues at both the competitions that are run around the country. There's about 24 of them, but also with the referees and the coaches, and to be able to establish a little stronger connection to this lifelong pursuit of competition. So that right now it's heavily youth. We want to make sure that warfighters have the opportunity to compete in these competitions. We want to grow that aspect. We'd like to see more competitions across the country, and we'd like to raise the level of competition that we already have. So helping people elevate what they already do. Another key thing will be this continued growth, much more intentionally. We're not looking to go out and merge with another organization for 2021, not just yet. But what we are looking to do is find those major markets where we don't have a presence, where people would like to do adaptive sport but aren't unable to because there's no footing there, there's no program, and figure out how to come in and expand that with a particular eye on the aspects of diversity and inclusion from a racial equity standpoint. As we went through this year, the pandemic wasn't the only thing that was going on, and we took a hard stop and look at who we serve, how we're serving them, what we look like internally, and how we're serving the external community. Statistically, we are definitely underserving people of color, and we need to change that, from youth through warfighters and adults in between. We have put together a diversity, equity, and inclusion team, and that leadership team just began meeting. So they'll have a lot of impact on what we're doing in 2021 and 2022 and beyond. We want to be very intentional about making sure that no one sits on the sidelines for economic reasons, for racial reasons, for not feeling like they're part of the movement. we're trying to change that equation. And I think it's an important aspect of everything that we do going forward. You know, we do have these large goals around warfighters in particular. We are probably the most predominant organization doing adaptive sport in this space, and more than 15,000 warfighters and their families have been served over the last 13, 14 years. We're looking to double that as we go towards 2028. And we're very optimistic that it's not going to be because there's new conflicts creating new injured and wounded soldiers, but that we're able to go into the community and find those that we missed the first go around that are already back. And with this greater saturation of our member organizations, be able to serve people where they're living and engage them. You know, part of this Adapt at Home program that's been really interesting is we can reach a really large community. It may not be the same tangibility that you have when you're in person. It may not have that visceral effect on a person, but it certainly brings them out of isolation. It certainly brings them into a community. It certainly engages them in health and fitness. And so you're going to see a larger push towards that with some really purposefully driven online programs around the fit kits, around staying fit, staying healthy, staying engaged with other people. So we have quite a little bit on our plate for 2021. And we're really excited about where that leads. We have a couple of new partners that we're looking, that we're having discussions with, and we're looking to add on in 2021 to keep the pie growing as we have more people that we're feeding with it.
It's very exciting, certainly where we've been and where Move United will be going, not just next year, but in the long haul, the 2028 vision, and obviously well beyond that as well. Anything that you want to share with the Move United community that I didn't ask you about?
You know, I think one of the things that I feel has been maybe a little bit of a cultural shift is the communication, and not just us going through a megaphone out to the community, but trying to gather people together and create formal and informal opportunities for those member organizations to provide feedback. We have overhauled the membership department, and that is exactly what it's called now. We aren't just about insurance and risk management. What we are about is providing you as a community with the tools and resources that we all need to get better and to be able to do more with less. And we also want to provide the funding and grants around that to help you do more with more. But this aspect of communication, I think, is really important. And that's why we're having this question and answer today. It's why we have meetings at the Leadership Conference in person. It's why at the Hartford Ski Spectacular, I sit down with the chapters in the mornings, because that two-way communication is really valuable to me. I've found in my life, I'm not a terribly bright person, but as I talk with others, I can glean their insights and experience that I don't have. And so that helps me become better as a leader. It helps our organization become richer as an organization. And it really galvanizes our community as a movement, which is what we are attempting to do as we go towards 2028.
It's wonderful. It's exciting, and it's energizing. And as both a board member and a member organization, I just want to say kudos to you and thank you to your staff. I think in these uncharted territories that we've been navigating, it's been great to have such leadership coming and for the chapters to have those resources and the support that all of the Move United staff has provided. So thank you. Congratulations on a great 2020, and here's to the future.
Thank you, Keri. I really appreciate it. And the team at Move United is fantastic. I couldn't ask for better people. And the board of directors has been tremendously supportive. So I feel like we're in a synchronous situation that allows us to really maximize what we're doing. And I'm really looking forward to what the next 3 to 5 years brings before the Paralympics return.
Thank you for your time today.
Thanks.